Hi, this is Dr. Madelyn from Spiritual Rebirth Tarot. Thank you for coming to my channel. Welcome. I would like to talk a little bit about the White Raven Spirit. Trust in the magic. So during this the readings for this month, I ended up getting this card 4 times. So I decided to ask the Raven what he would like to say to us. And the White Raven is very unique and rare. And really his message has a lot to do with synchronicities. So there are things that happen in our lives that if we watch them, they can actually be directing us. And so sometimes we think it might be a coincidence, but it's not. And so it's actually the magic speaking to us and moving us in different ways. And examples, well, anyway, so you can think of examples in your own life where, basically the concept is, are you living unconsciously or consciously? And so if you're living unconsciously, you're just reacting to things and doing things. But if you're living consciously, then you will, you'll actually watch the things around you to help you make decisions and make those decisions and then follow through with them. So I was actually posting today about being conscious or unconscious, and Breen Brown was talking about a time that she was confronted by someone who criticized her, and her immediate reaction to that criticism was kind of like a nasty little retort. But in the process of thinking of this retort, and kind of like a quick anger answer, her gut, behind everything said to her, just slow down and think about this for a minute. And so she did. And as she thought about it and she talked to her friend, she realized that her real reaction should be, kind of like crying and getting your feelings hurt instead of getting angry. And that if the more courageous thing would be to step back, look at what the person was saying and see, why did it make such a strong reaction in me? And so in that case, it had to do with that particular thing that was criticized was something that was very close to her heart. And so you might think the person was criticizing your heart. Instead of, just criticizing the picture or whatever it was. So, they're just thinking of it as, hey, that picture should look a little different. To her, it was like, oh, that's a really important time in my life that I wanted to post. So there was a completely different perspective, and the person themselves hadn't really done anything wrong. And they didn't need to be, told to go to wherever. Instead, it was a time for, Ms. Brown to take a look at her life and in a more conscious way. And so that's being conscious. Is being unconscious, just send that email that says, nah, you're a, BITH. And instead of sending that email, she lived a more conscious life of how should I be responding to this situation. Another thing that she was talking about that really impressed me with that was she was talking about all of us in our lives come up to a point where we're standing in front of a swamp. And that swamp is all those kind of like not really nice things about ourselves, because none of us are perfect. And so there are these imperfections that we have to face. And whatever those imperfections might be in our lives that we're facing, we often want to just look for some quick, how to help that will just help us bridge it or walk around the swamp. But that's a little bit more tedious and difficult than we might try to imagine. And standing there by the swamp can be almost like staying in quicksand, and we really need somewhere to go. And so many times the only choice is to trudge through the swamp, make the conscious decision to go through that hard time in life, make the conscious decision to look at our true emotions, the way we're truly feeling about something, look at that ickiness inside of us, and come out the other side to solid ground, happiness, and sunshine. And so, we have to consciously choose sometimes to go through that dark night of the soul. If we're living an unconscious life, we might think it's easier just to stand on the sidelines. But it's actually easier to just walk through and keep on going in our journey. So those are some of the thoughts that I've been having about, being conscious, trusting the magic, trusting that the things that we are seeing in our lives are a direction that we need to follow. So I was asking the Raven, what does he want to tell us in the month of August? I don't want to say October. The month of August. So the August 2020. So the three cards were the Magician, the King of Cups, and the Ace of Wands. So if we look at these just from a tarot perspective, manifesting, romantic love, or something that we truly love into our lives. And the Ace of Wands is kind of like that new beginning. So if you look at this as, past, present, and future, that you have been manifesting this romance into your life, which will help bring you into a new perspective on your values. So that might be, the way you might look at it. But I chose these cards because the cool thing about these cards is that you can just, instead of thinking about it being a magician, you can just look at the picture and just start to see what comes out to you. And the thing that really stuck out to me is the crane. So the magician has the crane's wings, and then the crane is sitting there looking at the pigeon. And so the crane often shows us about longevity and, almost magic and those kind of things. But there's one story about the crane in Greek where a thief was bombarded by a crane until they gave up their, the fact that they'd been a thief, they took these things. And so the crane was holding it accountable. And there are a few other times that the crane is used in the sense of holding people accountable. And you can imagine how much fun it would be to have the crane kind of like being on you, picking on you until you finally told the truth or, did the right thing that you're supposed to do. And so maybe our, this intuition inside of us is kind of like picking on us and saying, go here, go here, go here. And I keep listening to these conversations with Abraham Hicks, and they're talking about how when what you're doing is in line with the path of the source for your life, God's path for your life, when you are following it, you feel really great. But when you start to go off the path, you start feeling not so good. So it's kind of like that crane is like picking on you and saying, don't go this way, don't go this way. And so the more we live within this conscious state of, choosing the way that feels more comfortable and right to us and following that guidance inside of us, the more conscious living we will have. And the more we will manifest these good things into our lives. And so as we're going along and we're listening to our conscience, picking on us, and helping us walk into a path that feels good inside of our hearts. That good feeling will manifest in our lives really a lot more beautiful things. And so one of the things that we are manifesting into our life is this this card here, which is the King of Cups. So this is kind of like the present or the next step. And in this picture, I feel like there's a merman, because it's underwater, and he's surrounded by seaweed. It's kind of like his seaweeds, you know, covering up his nudeness, which he doesn't care about, but we might. And as he's, you know, going through life as this merman, he's carrying a bowl, and, you know, he's just tweedledum, and all of a sudden, right in front of him, there's a seahorse, and it just makes him stop. And the seahorse's message is, you know, watch and wait. Take a step back. So there are times in lives when we're just going so fast, so crazy, and we just need to stop and take a step back and see where we are. You know, don't let the turmoil on the top of the surface affect how we are down at the bottom. And again, the turtles are a symbolism of longevity. So we have longevity coming in twice in the reading. And in this case, longevity leads to wisdom. And wisdom is really this thing that's helping us on this journey. And so as we're walking, as we're walking on this journey of coming to a more conscious state with the white raven spirit, as we're doing that and we're manifesting this consciousness into our lives, we sometimes need to just stop, pause our lives, take a deep breath, and see where we really headed, and we just take that moment in time to watch and wait. And as we are doing that, we continue to have those positive feelings and those positive energies, and we're following this guide in our hearts, and it leads us to a new understanding of our life and of our values. So the fox comes into your life when things are going to pretty dramatically change, and you need guidance and help to go through those difficult things. So a fox is able to run away from the hounds that are chasing it. You know, and as it runs from the house, it has quickness and speed, lightness, but it also has redirection and focus. And so as it's redirecting and focusing your attention in a new direction, and you will have some new values that come out. And I think that, again, it's this sense of consciousness. It knows exactly where it's going. The hounds, they just follow the fox. They don't pay attention to where they're running. They run over things, they run under things, run around things. But the fox is constantly paying attention. It's constantly thinking, where am I going? How can I get away from this situation? How can I get peace? And so that, you know, listen to your conscience. It'll push you in the right direction. It'll peck on you when you're going the wrong way. And at times it'll say, stop and wait and listen for that wisdom and that advice. And at other times it'll say, run this way, run that way, to avoid the dangers, to go into the newness of life, into the beauty, and this beautiful sun in the background, the happiness that we all are seeking, and that joy and happiness in our lives. So the raven is telling us, wake up from unconsciousness and move into that conscious presence in your life. So let's end with our message from the wellness deck from the Abraham Hicks. And I certainly recommend listening to those videos on YouTube. And they're all free, and they all come to you and help you understand better how to live a more conscious life. Seeking approval of others hinders my joyousness. If the way you feel depends on anything outside of you, you're in trouble. But if you depend only upon your connection with your own inner being, then everything in your existence falls into alignment. You know, it's interesting. So depending only upon your connection with your own inner being, then everything in your experience falls into alignment. You know, it's interesting. I was talking about seeking approval of others hinders your joy. And I remember there was this story about a raven that had one white feather, and they would constantly pick on that raven. The rest of the ravens would pick on that raven because it had this one white feather, this magical feather. And instead of looking at it like, oh, it's this magical thing, it's this beautiful thing, there must be something really special about him, all the ravens were like, well, he's just not like us. He's not the same. And so they would pick. So his master would constantly dye that feather so that he appeared black, so he wouldn't get picked on, and he would take care of him. But it's kind of this idea that seeking the approval of others is really going to hinder our joy. And you know, every time he'd fly through the snow or the rain, that black would come off and he'd get bombarded again. And so finding a way to find your own joy and your own inner peace and your inner being so that you can be aligned with the way that the whole universe is advancing. And don't worry about the approval of others. I know it's really hard, but in the end, be the white raven. You know, make all your everything white, and just go all white. Just go for it, and be the person that you were meant to be, so that you will have that beautiful, soft feeling inside yourself. So this is the message of the raven for the month of August. And I pray that this will come into your heart and be a true blessing to you. And thank you for watching. This is Dr. Madelyn with Spiritual Rebirth Tarot. Please subscribe and like this video and share it with your friends. And I hope that you find this message when you need it most. And God bless.